Hello everyone. Today we are talking about dressage for beginners, or if you're not a beginner, then it's about the basics of dressage. So dressage is a French word that means training. So it's both the training of the horse and the rider. It's really a sport of perfection and detail. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the basics of dressage. Be sure to check out in the description below and sign up for my free mini course on rider position, and give this channel a thumbs up and a like if you like this video. So when we are talking about dressage, and for example, if I have a new student that comes to take a lesson with me, the first thing that I always work on with them is getting them in the correct position, because you need to be in the correct position to give your horse the correct aids and in order for your horse to operate in the correct manner. So the most important thing to start with is your alignment. So there should be a straight line from your ear to your shoulder to your hip to your heel. The two most common mistakes that I see people make is a lot of riders, especially if you're a jumper rider before, tend to tip forward and their lower leg goes too far back. So you can see here how that line is no longer straight. The other common thing is riders end up in a chair seat where their lower leg is way out in front of them and they're sitting kind of back too far on their butt. So you really want to have this nice alignment. You should be able to feel your seat bones in the saddle and have the feeling like your seat bones are pointing straight into the saddle. The reason that this is really important is because your alignment is what allows you to absorb the motion of the horse and to stay balanced and stable in the saddle. So if you're out of alignment, you're going to be more likely to fall off, and you're also going to be more likely to bounce in the saddle or not absorb the motion. So that's the most important thing to start with. And you'll find as you go through your ride, you need to keep checking in with this. So when you make a transition or your horse spooks or you try to canter, your alignment's going to get out of whack and you need to check in with it again. So once we've got that down, the second thing is how you hold the reins and establishing the contact with the horse's mouth. So you want to hold your reins so that they go here between your ring finger and your pinky finger. You want to be pushing down between your thumb and your forefinger. The reason for this is you push down between your thumb and your forefinger to keep the rein length the same, and then you're able to supple like this with your wrist and your fingers and give little subtle cues to your horse. So that's the second thing that's most important. It's also very important that you maintain a straight line from your elbow to the horse's mouth. So this would be my hands are too high. You can see how there's a broken line between my elbow and the horse's mouth. This would be my hands are too low and my arms are straight. You always want to have a bend in your elbows and a straight line from the horse's mouth to your hand. So that's the second thing that's really important. Those are kind of the basics of your rider position that you need to maintain for dressage. Now, the next thing that we're going to talk about is the aids. So once you find this correct position, you want to start asking your horse to do things. So you always start with your legs. Your legs are the driving aids. That's what get the horse to go forward. Your hands are the restraining aids. So your reins are basically what stops the horse. And then your seat is the translator between your driving aids and your restraining aids. The main function of your seat is that it absorbs the motion of the horse's back. And you're not ever asking your horse to go from your seat. So let me start to show you all of this in motion. So I'm going to start with the driving aids, and I'm going to close my leg and ask my horse to walk forward. And then you see how once my horse walks forward, my seat is absorbing the motion of his back. And that's really important, because if your legs tell your horse to go forward, so for example, if my legs tell him to go, but my hips stay locked up, you see how he just stops again. So my leg told him to go, but my hips are just stopped. So now I'm going to tell him to go, and now my hips are moving, and you see how he is moving because my hips are moving. And that's really important. A lot of riders don't follow the motion of the horse, and so then the horse just ends up stopping again. So when we talk about dressage, the first thing that we always think about, the base of the dressage training scale, is rhythm. So just while I'm walking around here, I'm feeling my horse's 4-beat walk. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm counting 1 when his left front goes on the ground. So it's left front, left hind, then right front, right hind. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. That's the rhythm of the walk. Now I can change the tempo of the walk. So for example, I can make the tempo slower, where now he's going 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. That's hard to count. Or I can make the tempo faster, but the first thing always in dressage is establishing the steady tempo. So same thing in the trot. If I want my horse to trot, I'm going to start with my leg aid. And of course, I'm always checking in with my position and my alignment. I have a bad habit of looking down. Let me know in the comments if you do that. But you can see when I look down how that messes up the alignment because my ear is in front of my shoulder. So I'm reminding myself to sit back and keep my head up. My driving aids, my legs closed to get him to trot, and then my seat is following that. And now, again, in dressage, the first thing is rhythm. So I'm counting in my head 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. The trot is a 2-beat rhythm. And for the warm-up with my horse, I'm just really working on establishing a steady tempo and a steady contact. I'm focusing on my alignment, my ear, shoulder, hip, heel, and also my alignment from my elbow straight to the horse's mouth. So those are the 2 things that I'm thinking about in the warm-up. And then for the canter, I'm just going through this rather quickly, but again, the canter's now a 3-beat rhythm, but that's always the first thing with any student or any rider in dressage, is feeling and identifying the rhythm and focusing on your position. A lot of what we do in dressage is we want to enhance the horse's natural gaits. And so it's important that you first really are just establishing this steady rhythm with the correct position so that you can enhance those gaits. Good boy. Okay, so one of the first exercises that I do with beginners in the dressage is I start working transitions between the walk and the trot. So this is a really good exercise to start with checking out your position, checking out your aids. So I'm going to get him to walk, I'm going to pull my tummy in and post slower until he comes to the walk. When he gets to the walk, I'm going to add a little driving aid. So you saw I gave him a little kick there with my leg so that he keeps walking with activity and energy. When I want him to trot again, I'm going to close my legs and follow through with my seat, immediately absorbing that motion. And I really make sure to maintain my alignment. So a lot of what happens in these transitions is people's alignment gets really out of whack. So in the downward transition, people tend to do this. They just lean forward and pull themselves out of the saddle. And you can see how that threw his balance onto the forehand and he stopped too much. And then a lot of times what happens to the alignment in the upward transition is people ask for the trot and then they get left behind. So they tell the horse, come on, trot, and then they end up in the back seat. So you saw how I fell to the back of the saddle and made it difficult for him to pick up the trot. So it's really important as you're doing these transitions that you're focusing really on your position. So for a correct upward transition, I have that alignment. I need to remember to look up, ear, shoulder, hip, heel, close both my calf, and trot, and immediately follow and stay exactly vertical with him. And then for the downward transition, I'll do it on the open side of the circle so you guys can see. I'm gonna pull my tummy in and stay right with him. Good boy. And also be sure, a lot of dressage is about balance. So you wanna be sure to spend equal amounts of time tracking to the left and tracking to the right. So I'm gonna do those transitions on the right as well. And I'm also really feeling any asymmetries in my horse left and right because I wanna work on improving those over time. But again, pull my tummy in, transition to walk. And so these transitions are really getting my horse on the aids. They're getting him listening to my driving aid, where my leg aid makes him go. And then my seat and my rein is the restraining aid. Good boy. The other thing that transitions do, and so much of dressage is about transitions, is that transitions start to get the horse's hind end engaged. So in order to do these nice transitions like he's doing, he has to really come through with his hind end and use his back and his neck and his top line in order to make these proper transitions. And over time, with millions and millions of transitions, when you finally get to the Grand Prix and you're piaffing and passaging, that's what creates engagement. That's what creates where the horse gets more up in the withers. And that's really what creates in dressage those beautiful expressive gaits that you see in the Olympic horses. So this just gives you guys some ideas to start with your dressage. And like I said before, dressage is about training, and it's really all about the basics. So even advanced riders are always working on their position and working on transitions. That never ends. So be sure to let me know in the comments what your biggest struggle is as a beginner dressage rider, and sign up for my mini course on rider position so that you can get some more details to help you find the correct position and give the correct aids to your horse. Thanks for watching.